Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Marine X back at it again. These are 10 items that you love that I hate. And I particularly believe that you might want to consider stop carrying them almost immediately. But first, if you're the type of person that likes EDC stuff, man cave stuff, all that type of stuff, click the button down below. We would love to have you a part of the battalion. Hit that subscribe button and join the battalion. Now, when I go over some of these items, I don't want you to get all in your feelings, especially if they're near and dear to your heart. You use them every day, etc., etc. These are my opinions. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Number one on the list. Everyone seems to love this all of a sudden. The Knipex Pliers. And yes, you do pronounce the K according to the company themselves. Some people say Knipex, some people say Knipex. Stop carrying the Knipex Cobra pliers. For some reason lately, people have deemed it necessary to start carrying a pair of water pump pliers with them. No, not Craftsman, not Channel Lock, not anything else. They want the Knipex. I've seen some people putting them in the fifth pocket of a pair of jeans, but mostly people are using them to just take photos of on Instagram. Now, I understand that it can work well. If you take a nice pair of Knipex Cobra pliers, about 4 or 5 inches in length, pair that with a Swiss Army knife by Victorinox, you got a kind of nice little combo there of a very capable pair of pliers and a Swiss Army knife multi-tool. But whenever I see a pair of those pliers with no snail trails, no dirt, no wearing rubber, no damages, no scuffs, it leads me to believe that you don't use them and you should probably stop carrying them. But if you're a flooring installer, HVAC guy, an electrician, plumber, something like that, then maybe you would consider carrying these. Everyone else, just go ahead and put them back in the toolbox. Number two, the 1 finger or 2 finger knuckle or knuck or knuckle duster or brass knuckles, the AFK knuck, whatever the brand, whatever the make. I don't know why all of a sudden this is becoming an insanely popular thing to carry within the EDC community. Here's the bluff or the bottom line up front. You need to check your local laws, your state laws, to see if you're even allowed to carry that thing around, as cute as it might be. Knucks are just simply redesigned brass knuckles. Instead of going over all 4 fingers, they've reduced it to go over 1 or 2. They've also started making them to look all sorts of funky shapes, colors, made of different materials. They're no longer just made of brass. They're making them in shapes of Game Boys. They're doing all sorts of modifications to these things. Now, some have made some small modifications to make them multi-tools. They may add a slotted screwdriver or a bottle opener. But at the end of the day, a lot of state agencies still consider them to be brass knuckles. And 21 states still consider brass knuckles 100% illegal. 17 additional states require a permit to carry a brass knuckles. Now, let's just be real. Why were brass knuckles even designed? They were designed to increase the force of a punch during a altercation or a fight. Even if they're legal in your state, some states, they become illegal immediately if you can still carry them. And it doesn't even matter if you have an accompanied CCW. You want to check and make sure you're allowed to carry those things. I don't really see a point behind them other than getting some fantastic photos for the gram, which is not a necessity. The next one here, you might want to sit down, strap on your seatbelt, because I'm coming at the jugular. I see no purpose for the JRW Curator. People love it, but at the end of the day, it is a hunk of micarta in brass that has been machined, but it doesn't seem to serve a purpose. Now, from their website, it says this, and I quote, "To encourage those who carry them to stay strong as nails and fight their way through life." That is a novel suggestion, but on the aftermarket, those things are selling for $1,700. Now, they have come out with a flex version, but it's nowhere near as popular. I'm not really seeing the point of carrying those things, especially if you're going to be spending that much money on them. Now, I can't understand it. Maybe you can hold the small fasteners of a pocket knife if you ever had to disassemble it, maybe the washers or the pocket clips, so it doesn't go flying all over the place. But when's the last time you've disassembled a multi-tool or a pocket knife away from your house? I would argue to say that most people have been peer pressured or suckered into buying them. This next one is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, but we kind of got to reconsider the use of the neck knife. Why are we carrying neck knives? I kind of get the purpose behind it. They're really easy to get to. You don't have to worry about your dad bod scraping up against it as you're walking. You don't have to worry about your arm brushing up against a fixed blade while you're walking or digging into a pocket. You free up pocket space. I hear all the pros. A lot of people just end up slapping them on a chain and then letting it be a little bit of pocket art around their neck. I can see the usefulness of a neck knife in a survival situation, a emergency situation, maybe even a rescue situation. But other than that, I would say you probably don't need a neck knife, especially if you already have a folder in your right pocket or your left pocket. The next one is something that I myself am guilty of, the pry bar. Not really sure why we need a pry bar, especially ones that are shaped like the Punisher or shaped in some type of crazy shape that doesn't give any leverage for the usefulness of the item. Now, I can argue you can use it for a lot of stuff. Maybe you want to pry apart 2 pieces of frozen meat. You need to take some nails out the wall. You need to pry open a door. You want to use the slotted function as a screwdriver. Yeah, a lot of functions, but when's the last time you did any of that stuff with your pry bar? Is it readily accessible? Is it inside of a pouch, inside of your EDC kit? Are you really using it? And do you have some ridiculously decorated version of a pry bar that you're too squeamish or too skittish to actually use in an EDC situation? If you're one of those two, then you probably shouldn't be carrying a pry bar to begin with. If you're using a pry bar to replace a knife, you want to use it to both open boxes and also have it as a pry function, maybe. I just think I'm leaning towards no longer loving them, no longer seeing the usefulness of them. But hey, you do you, boo-boo. Here's one that I'm seeing ever increasingly rising: super glue. Now, why do people carry super glue in their everyday care? I'm not talking about your med kit or your ouchie boo boo kit. I'm talking about your curated, maybe even on body everyday carry. What do you need super glue for? Now, I understand the functionality for it. You're going to get a cut. You're going to use it to seal up that cut. It's going to be painful for a few seconds, but it's going to be waterproof. It's going to help seal that cut from germs. I hear all that. When's the last time you actually whipped out super glue to use it? I would argue that if you're going to have it a part of an EDC, you're more likely to use Band-Aids or some adhesive bandage if you don't want to use the Band-Aid brand versus some super glue. Super glue is probably not the way to go. Stop carrying super glue. You're probably going to get some type of cheap version of it. It's going to dry out when you need it the most. Band-Aids aren't necessarily going to be dried out when you need it the most. You're probably not going to seal it up correctly if and when you do use it. And they're kind of bulky. Scrap it. I don't love it. Just get rid of the freaking super glue. Here's one that I know a lot of you love, and I am not a fan of it. The bit driver, the dedicated bit driver, the ones that are twirling and swirling. You load up the 1/4 bit or proprietary size bit, and you think you're going to use this thing all of the time, and you really don't. They're starting to become more and more novelty pieces versus a dedicated tool. Case in point, if I'm seeing someone that's carrying something that's made of some type of really rare metal or rare material, and I give them a very practical solution for a bit driver and they frown, that lets me know that you mostly want it for decorations. Whereas if you need a bit driver, you're probably not going to use it that much. Let's think about this. I literally have used the bit functionality of my multi-tools probably less than one time in the last 6 months. What I'm referring to is anything other than the slotted or Phillips screwdrivers. I use those all the times. But when's the last time I loaded up a T6 or a T8 bit in my multi-tool? It's been a long time. If I'm doing that type of maintenance, it's here in the man cave. It's time to take that knife apart and I'm pulling out an actual knife maintenance kit. On the fly, if I have a knife that's starting to come loose, a fastener starting to come loose, which is rare, I would just pocket that thing, maybe not use it for the rest of the day, or maybe even buy something for a simple solution. But to have a dedicated bulky bit driver, I don't like that. I don't like that shit. Something that I have not got around to acquiring or allowing a company to send me out either has been a hank. Now, I'm not talking about a microfiber cloth, a bandana, a rugged handkerchief that you might use to wipe your hands, wipe your phone screen, wipe your glasses, etc. I'm talking about those decorative, two-sided, different cloths. Don't put it in a washing machine. Be careful of lint hanks. Those things are normally overpriced, underused and mostly getting put on Instagram. I don't love them. I'm not a big fan of them. I think that if you're going to carry something, use it. Use a microfiber cloth. Use the traditional bandana. Use it to wipe your hands off if you're working. Use it to wipe your kid's face off. But the super decorative one, I don't know if I'm a big fan of that shit. Number 9 on the list is pocket art, pocket trash, pocket candy, any nickname you got for it. I do not love it. Why do you need something that has very low or zero functionality? It has very little durability. It probably has no utility. And not only that, it's normally overpriced. Now, I say overpriced. I'm trying to compare it to something on the regular market. If the market's paying that price, it's not overpriced. But if you can get a lanyard or a bead for 39 cents, but this thing becomes decorative and now it's 1,700 bucks, that's freaking overpriced in my book. This includes challenge coins, dice, fidgets, beads, all that type of stuff. I carry them every now and again. What I mean by every now and again, I'm talking about challenge coins. When do I carry them? Maybe on special occasions like Memorial Day, or in remembrance of another Marine or a soldier or a sailor that died in combat. Something that will bring me remembrance. But do I carry it every day? No, I do not carry it every day. If that is something that you want to do, then do what you want to do. The last one, easy, sum it up, lanyards are dumb. Now, that's my thing. That is my list. I think that basically sums it all up. Now, one thing I want to say is if you use, need, or carry any of this stuff, don't get your panties all in a bunch. This is just my opinion, as I mentioned earlier. I myself am guilty of carrying some of this trash, and I've come to realize that I can exclude it from my everyday carry. Comment down below, do you agree with any of these items? Did I miss something from my list? Would you add more or take something away from it? I would love to know with your comments down below. Make sure you like this video as well. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, put #sand in the comment and I will heart your message. That's it. That's all I got. I'll catch you later.